Hi everyone, welcome back to the Sports Breakdown once again. So today we are going to discuss about the post-match analysis of Sri Lanka versus South Africa. I know we were a bit late, obviously, to do the review of Sri Lanka versus South Africa, but I was really busy because I have my personal stuff going on. So I was a bit busy in the last few days, so I couldn't really, do the review of Sri Lanka versus South Africa immediately. So at least now I have the time to do that, and it's good also because it is closer to the next match that Sri Lanka are going to play tomorrow, and we know it's like the most heated rivalry happening tomorrow. Obviously it's not with the stats that the rivalry is happening, it's between the fans and with what has happened in the last 5 years between both the nations, which is going to be Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh. So we'll be discussing about that first. But before going on to all of this, I know we are going to go a bit off topic, but we have to talk about yesterday's match, from all three guests, because USA beating Pakistan yesterday was, nobody really thought that that will happen. Yes, USA beat Bangladesh. They were doing really well. They beat even Canada in convincingly in a chase as well. But let's come to Adil. Your thoughts, like just a few words, towards the USA beating Pakistan yesterday. Associate nation beating a full member status team like Pakistan, a status team, and potentially a semi-finalist team like Pakistan. So, your thoughts, Adil, in a few words to summarize on yesterday?
Yeah, so Pakistan are the defending runners-up. So that speaks for itself. Like this is probably the biggest win for USA in their entire cricketing history, and I'm actually not surprised to see them winning because it was coming. It was just a matter of time and getting. It was just a matter of hitting that correct combination because
Mm.
this just didn't happen overnight. So the American cricket enterprise, they started bringing in players in 2020. They brought in a lot of players. They started the MLC. Of course, there's a lot of chaos. We are hearing that the USA Cricket Board is going to be suspended after the World Cup. So there is a lot of administrative chaos going on. But still, they've done the hard yards. They've brought in players. So you can't create such a result overnight. Beating Pakistan is no easy thing. Even the full member nations struggle to beat Pakistan. So I'm really happy for USA cricket. And as a cricketing fan, I'm really happy to see an associate team coming, leaps and bounds and being a powerhouse, I would say, because they are already in contention for a Super 8 spot. That's no joke. In a group where you have three other full member nations, India, Pakistan, and Ireland, being in contention for a Super 8 Super 8 berth soon after two games is great achievement. So I'm really looking forward to seeing their game against India and Ireland because just one win out of those two games, and mind you, they have beaten Ireland in the past.
Mm.
They've done that before, so I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Ireland. India seems to be a bit of tough task, but let's wait and see. Who knows? Anything can happen.
Absolutely. Dominic, your thoughts on yesterday's match, because you live in the USA as well, and I'm not sure about the hype amongst USA cricket fans. To this 2020 World Cup, because USA, obviously the people are more focused into other sports. They're not much into cricket. But what will this result mean to USA cricket and the people as a whole, like people following up cricket as well? Because we saw a
Mm.
lot of articles on social media. It went it went viral yesterday, obviously,
Yeah.
with the way that USA cricket played. So your thoughts and your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, and thanks, Pawan, for having me on. I think the South Asian community has been very, very excited about this World Cup, and they've been tuned in, ready to go, ready to see their teams play, and they've been very excited. But I think what happened yesterday is that it ignited something in the broader American populace. I was talking to my dad, and he said every major news network was carrying this as a lead story: USA beats Pakistan in cricket. And I was getting texts from my friends who are not at all cricket fans saying, "Wait, this happened? How did this happen?" And sharing tweets of what happened during the match, sharing highlights. So I think this might serve as kind of a tipping point where we've got a winning team and America loves their winners, right? If they make it to the Super 8, I can see a lot of interest being generated. I can see more interest being generated by, sort of the non-South Asian public as well. To see the US turn up in an international tournament and perform this well is really well and truly amazing. And just to piggyback on what Adil said, it was a really professional display. This was not a fluke kind of win, but they bowled well. They fielded brilliantly. They batted smartly. They knew, okay, we're going to take our time in the early overs and we're going to get to the middle overs and take advantage of that. And even when it came to those pressure situations, you need to get 12 off 3 off of Haris Rauf. That's not easy for any international player to do, but they were able to do it. And the super over, they kept their cool. They bowled well. It was an incredible performance. And I think I agree completely. It was not a fluke. They're going to be looking at that Ireland match and thinking, okay, we can win this one and we can make it into the Super 8 and we can make some noise. And what a story. Who would have predicted 15 days ago that the U.S. would be in this position? And with that pitch in New York, who knows what's going to happen in the India game?
Very interesting. Yeah. Let's come to Mahir as well. Mahir, your thoughts, especially USA beating Pakistan. A few words on that match yesterday.
First and foremost, I would like to apologize to everyone for my network problem. I just don't understand what's happening with my internet.
No
And
worries.
secondly,
Yeah.
hello everyone. Maybe we are not introduced apart from Pawan. My name is Mahir. I do used to follow Bangladesh cricket a lot, but in the recent last 12 months, the cricket of our is not, up to the mark. So if you talk about tomorrow's match, to be honest, to the entire fan base of Bangladesh cricket, tomorrow we are not having any expectation, to be honest. And I think Sri Lanka will be winning, but I just hope from my team that they just, try to give their best and it's not a one-sided match.
Yeah. Mahir, but your thoughts on yesterday's match between USA and Pakistan, first of all, just a few words on that.
Yeah, surely. USA, as you have known, that we played against them, the three-match T20 series. Yeah, everyone, including me, was like bashing our team. Like back then, we thought that like what's happening with this team? Like how come we are losing against USA? Like we won 4-1 against Zimbabwe at home, and then how come USA is beating us from 20 balls? They were needing 50 runs. Harmeet Singh and Corey Anderson finished the job for them. Our death over specialist Shoriful and Mustafiz also couldn't defend 50 of 20. So USA was definitely looking dangerous. We were quite evident about the team. But it's yesterday was a wake up call for world cricket that how dangerous USA is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's focus on the Sri Lanka versus South Africa now. The post-match analysis. Let's come to Dominic first of all. So my thoughts on the New York pitch first of all. I know it's new conditions in New York, but do you think it was the right choice for Hasaranga to actually bat first on a pitch where you don't know the conditions much, and Sri Lanka obviously haven't played much in USA. It's their first time playing in USA. So, do you think the choice from Hasaranga was right or wrong? Because Adam Markram also was surprised, that Hasaranga decided to bat first, and they were backing, that they're going to bowl first according to the pitch. So, your analysis on, the toss call by Hasaranga, first of all, Dominic?
Yeah, I think it's So first, I'll start with a little defense of Hasaranga here. I think it was the wrong call. Let me just say this up front. But I think this is, I'm imagining his logic here is he's saying, okay, this is South Africa. We want them to be chasing on this pitch. If we can put a little pressure by getting a good score on the board, or then perhaps we can cause some trouble for them. Right? That being said, the circumstances definitely said this is bowl first. Right? Totally new pitch. No idea what's going on. And then we heard all about Sri Lanka's travel delays. They didn't get into New York till 5 a.m. the morning before. They took the day off because they were so tired that they didn't even get to see what the pitch looked like. They didn't even get a warm-up. Yes. So, sort of traditional cricketing sense says, okay, bowl first, see what the wicket's doing, and then take your time and figure it out and learn from what's going on in the South African innings, right? Yeah. So that, to me, was the mistake, is that given the circumstances, you have to bowl first. And because you have a great bowling lineup, back them to run through that South Africa side, right? I appreciate the aggression. You could see that Sri Lanka has kind of switched their brains to think we need to be aggressive, right? You could see early on with the swings and misses, with the attempts to hit big shots, that there's been a lot of emphasis on intent, right? But now what we're going to have to see in these next games, and what we didn't see in South Africa, was that ability to adjust on the fly and say, okay, this is not a 190 pitch. This is a 130, 150 pitch, and we have to bat differently. So I have a hard time criticizing Hasaranga because I appreciate the aggressive intent, because we've been begging for it. We've been saying Sri Lanka's T20 side has to be more aggressive. They have to play their shots, no dot balls. They have to try to put up big scores. And they were trying to do that. They just picked probably the worst place to try to do that, right? New pitch that was heavily favoring bowling. So I do think it was the wrong decision, but I can understand Hasaranga's intent. And I sort of can, 2020 hindsight, appreciate the intent our batters were trying to apply when they saw, okay, well, we're 24 for 1 after 4. That's not going to do it against South Africa, right? And yes, I wish they had adapted, but I do kind of understand. And at the same time, I would have definitely bowled first.
Coming to Mahir from a neutral perspective, Mahir, let's talk about the first innings a bit, Mahir. So obviously Sri Lanka batting first, they only managed to score 77 all out, which was the lowest ever 2020 score for Sri Lanka in 2020 international history. So your thoughts, especially, the way that the Sri Lankan batters approach, especially the openers, Kusan Mendis couldn't get going. He only scored 19 of 30. Really struggled. He tried to swing the bat, really, couldn't connect either with the bat or middle eight, or try to rotate the strike, which we saw the Irish batters doing more better in that match on Wednesday. I don't know whether the pitch sort of changed a bit, but your thoughts, especially Sri Lanka, from a neutral perspective, the way that Sri Lanka approached in this first innings.
Brother, the thing that Sri Lanka, like I felt like the way Sri Lankan people are criticizing Wanindu, to go and charge the bowler. I felt like it wasn't a mistake from him, because the way Kusal Mendis was building pressure towards the other batters, Wanindu had no option actually to come at number 4 and slog and try to improve the run rate of the team. And I felt like Patham Nisanka getting out early, costed Sri Lanka the game very much, rather than Wanindu and other guys.
Yeah, definitely. Adil, your thoughts also, especially, the middle order really couldn't contribute. Nisanka getting out, Kusan Mendis couldn't get going. It was only Angelo Matthews who had some sort of aggression, but, it was very difficult, So your thoughts, especially, the way that Henrik Noike bowled also, do you think it was just the pace? So, they struggled against Keshav Maharaj as well. They really couldn't get going against Henrik Noike as well. So, your thoughts, Adil, on that?
So I would say, like, they were more concerned on uh, the end, the final total that they're going to get. I think that's what made them completely have a blind eye on what was actually going on in the wicket. I mean, it was, as fans watching the game, it was so evident. It's not easy to bat. We saw Kusal Mendis, like, driving the ball, hitting the ball through the line, but the ball never, I mean, goes beyond the 30-yard circle. The outfield is so slow. It was so bad. So, like, I felt like they forgot to actually assess the conditions, and they just, as Vanidu said in the press conference, they came in with the mindset, okay, we're going to get 160 and try and defend it. They did not think of the condition. They did not think of anything else. They just thought, okay, we're going to score 160 and defend it. 160 might be enough on certain wickets. 160 might not be enough at all on certain wickets. So it starts with the condition. I mean, they completely didn't assess what's going on. And the other surprise for me is, you said Angelo Matthews in the middle scored some runs. You saw some glimpses of, like, people actually cracking the template of how to bat on this. I even said in a show yesterday in Ion Cricket. So I think it's only Rishabh Pant who has actually figured out the way to score runs in this wicket, and Rohit Sharma did as well.
Yeah.
If you remember how Rishabh Pant batted against Bangladesh in the warm-up game in this very stadium, it was more of wrist work, and he didn't try to power the ball, but what he made sure was he didn't try to hit the ball along the ground, because he understood that hitting the ball along the ground will never give you boundaries. What he did was he has very strong wrists. He used his wrists to power the ball over the infield, and making sure the ball is on the air for the longest period of time. and reducing the distance the ball has to cover along the ground. So that was just, I mean, quick thinking. I don't know, Rishabh Pant just cracked it early in the warm-up game, and he played the same template against Ireland as well. Rohit Sharma did that as well. And the other best way to score on that wicket was pulling the short ball. Like, you have to be a really good player of the pull shot, as good as Rohit Sharma. So we saw Angelo Matthews getting a six off the pull. Most of our other batters who tried to pull perished, right? Kusal Mendes tried to pull perished. I can't remember. There was someone.
Asalanka
Even
did it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And Hamindu Mendes was someone who I noticed tried the Rishabh Pant way. He tried to use his wrist, but unfortunately, he found the fielder. He found exactly the field, and he played it straight to the field. So there are certain tactical things that will come. I mean, obviously, I mean, we are just fans who watch cricket. These guys have been playing cricket for the end for so many years from school days. So obviously they have this cricketing sense, and they know how to play on certain wickets. For me, them not realizing that is solely because, like, they were I don't know, they were just blinded with the fact that we need to get 160. And even the fact that Vanidu saying we didn't get messages from the dugout is so surprising. Look at that dugout, man. You have so much of experience. Yes, Sanat Jayasuri was not with the team. He had to fly back to Sri Lanka due to a personal emergency, but you still have enough experience in that dugout. You had the Tilna Kandambi, head coach Chris Silverwood, uh, chief selector Upul Tarang. He has played a lot of cricket, and so many other cricket experts who has played cricket in various conditions all around the world. So alarming to see, like, them failing to, I mean, play the moment, play the game. I mean, so that's so, I mean, very surprising to see. So all in all, I think, I mean, just giving my final, just a summary, I think they should just forget what happened in this game. Bad wicket, slow outfield, good. I mean, this was a game. I mean, we didn't expect them to win, to be honest. Tough opposition. So you can take that as a, freebie. Forget it. Now there is a game where you can try and win. Not underestimating Bangladesh at all. But obviously you have no choice but to win this game. So play the game. Just play the conditions, and just play cricket. And forget your templates of 160 and defend and all. Just play the conditions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's just take the comment from the YouTube comment section, and let's ask Dominic to answer. So SG apparently has asked, which Sri Lankan batsman do you think should be dropped or given some time off, and a young deserving player being given a chance? Your thoughts on that, Dominic?
Yeah, I think this is a tricky question. I think the one young deserving player who's been given a chance is Kamindu Mendes. I'm glad that he's in the side. I think, Adil was talking about his wrist work. He is fantastic, especially in the power play, at clearing the infield, scoring boundary shots. I think he's got a little work to do against spin in the middle overs a bit. But I think he's the player that I'm very glad has been given a shot. In terms of who I would like to see dropped, I've said this before. I'd like to see Sri Lanka go 6-5. I think you're not using Wanindu properly, right? Wanindu is one of the very true all-rounders that you have in T20 cricket, where he's in this side both for his batting and for his bowling, right? And if we're going to consistently play him in that top 4 or 5, right, as a spin basher, I don't think you need to play someone like Sadira. And we saw he came in right after Wanindu, right, and gets out first ball, right? That's the time. That's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for him to come in and play a slow run of ball innings and kind of carry us to the total. And if he's not going to be able to do that, I don't see the option. And if you put in another bowler, so I'm thinking, can you imagine what Dilshan Madhushanka or Dushmantha Chamira would have done, right? If we had given them early overs instead of giving Angelo and Dawson, who both bowled well. If we gave them the new ball alongside Nuwan Thushara, we might have been taking more wickets as well. So for me, I really want to see Kamindu continue to grow. I think there are some good young prospects in T20 cricket that we will see come up. I'd love to see Avishka kind of get his form. That would kind of unlock it for us. If we could get Avishka in his LPL form, where he's just smashing the bowlers around, what a difference that would make. But for me, I think the big thing is I think we need to drop the sort of anchor batter. Though maybe not for this tournament, right? Maybe this is a tournament where you do want a batter who can drop anchor, where the par scores are going to look more like 160 than 200, 220.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's come to Mahir once again. Mahir, your thoughts on the second innings? The way that Sri Lanka fought, because you only have 78 obviously to defend Mahir, and yes, South Africa did win the match, but it took them 16.2 overs obviously to reach these runs. Obviously, the pitch behaved really badly. Getting as both Dominic and Adil mentioned also, it really didn't contribute much to the batters at all in this game. We clearly saw that throughout the match. So, your thoughts, especially in the second innings, and the way that Sri Lanka approached also the bowlers. I mean, especially Hasaranga picking up 2 wickets. Yes, in the final over that he bowled, he conceded 2 sixers to Henrik Klaasen and Aidan Markram. But regardless, I feel still your thoughts. The way that they approached, because Dasun Shanaka bowled in the power play as well. They gave the first over to Angelo Matthews, then gave to Nuwan Tushara and Shanaka to bowl a bit. And then Matisha Patirana came around the 8th or 9th over for him to bowl as well, and he also was not bad at all in that match or in that bowling spell. So your thoughts on the second innings, Mahir?
Firstly, I listened to two of our guests' opinion very well, and I would like to say something about those things also. Like as
Yeah,
Adil bhai has mentioned regarding the coaching staff, like experience. I feel like Chris Silverwood, like Sri Lanka themselves has so much legacy to carry with themselves. They have so much good ex-cricketers. I just don't understand the fact why Sri Lanka is not hiring any head coach from their own country. Like there have been several World Cup winners in this Sri Lankan ex side. Like if you see Tilikarna Dilshan, Kumasagara, Mahela Jayawardena, you have a home T20 World Cup coming in 2 years' time. And I think Sri Lanka should be really, looking forward for that World Cup, in order to at least play the semis or finals for that. To be honest, this time around, I feel Sri Lanka easily should be playing the Super 8s, but 2026 should be the one which Sri Lanka should be, targeting. And as the comment section, one guy has commented that which player do you want to drop, and give a young player a chance.
yeah,
I feel like, Pawan, I always say to you one thing, that one particular player should be dropped. But in between this conversation going on, I checked the squad of Sri Lanka, and I saw one underrated guy, sitting on the bench. That is DDS, Dhananjay De Silva. He should be getting chance in place of Sadira Samarovikrama, who has been not performing well since that last LPL and that Asia Cup. After that, I'm not seeing him to perform that much well.
yeah,
And the thing which you have mentioned also, yeah, these are some concerns which Sri Lanka should be, changing, and these are like slight problems which Sri Lanka, if changes, I think they can achieve something better in the 2026 T20 World Cup.
yeah. Your thoughts on the second innings, Mahir, especially on the bowlers of
Second
Sri Lanka,
innings,
the way that
bro, actually, yeah, second innings, bro. Actually, when there is nothing to actually defend, when you have no runs, at least a 120, then you actually have nothing to do. And I completely will back Hasaranga for giving Angelo Matthews and Shanaka the ball, because maybe he wanted to focus on the net run rate rather than winning the match. I think I felt that, because in this tournament, if in order you to survive, you have to think of the net run rate as well, rather than
yeah,
winning some matches also.
yeah.
So I have nothing to say regarding that when your team is, getting all out under 80 runs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's take the comment section, by the way, and let's make Adil to answer this. From Excopio has asked, has playing a lot of qualifiers and low-ranked ICC teams in the past few months have made Sri Lanka not prepared for the tough teams? Good question here. Interesting question.
uh, I think not playing T20s at all is the actual problem. It's not about the opposition that we played. So if you look at, I mean, if you take the cycle since the last T20 World Cup, so it
Yeah,
finished in 2022.
yeah,
After that, I think we didn't. The only T20 series that we played was in India in 2022. After that World Cup, we didn't play any T20 series, and then
yeah,
we went to India. We played 3 games there. We won one, I guess.
Yeah, 1-1.
We won
Yeah.
one there, and then we went to New Zealand. We played 3 games there. There was a super over win, and we
Yeah.
lost the remaining two. So
yeah,
after that, those 6 T20 games or those 2 series, our next T20 game was played just early this year. So that was all nearly 1 year without T20 cricket. You had the LPL. Yes, the players were involved in LPL. Some of the players were involved in foreign leagues, but we never played as a team. So
Yeah.
I would rephrase this as not playing T20 cricket at all. I think that was the case with most of the teams as well, because 2023 was mostly a year dedicated for ODI cricket, and
Mm.
we had to complete 1 or 2 series in the World Test Championship as well.
Yeah.
So scheduling again, and even picking the oppositions. I think there is no choice for Sri Lanka in terms of picking your opposition. It all depends. It's all decided a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
When the
Yeah.
FTP is released, so you have to play those series. So qualifiers, I don't think Sri Lanka played T20 qualifiers. We only played the first round in 2021 and 2022. So yes, there is a lack of quality matches for Sri Lanka as a team. We've not played enough like high quality, high pressure games. Uh, Maybe 1 or 2 games here and there. I can remember the type game in New Zealand, or the win in India.
Yeah.
So apart from 1 or 2 games, we have not got enough games consistently. Yes, so there is a I agree, there is a lack of game time for the team, more than game time, lack of like quality game time against quality oppositions. So I
Yeah.
think that's a scheduling issue which Sri Lanka cricket and of course the ICC also has to involve, because they manage, or they have the final say in terms of FTPs. You have to accommodate IPL and all the leagues as well. So that's a completely different thing to talk about, I guess.
Pawan, if
Absolutely.
can
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can
You
I
can
add
add on. Yeah.
one small
Yeah.
thing here? Yeah, I think the IPL is a big thing here, right? So I think it would have been nice, as Pakistan and England did, to have a series right before the World Cup. But Sri Lanka's board is scared that if they pull players for a series before the World Cup from the IPL, they're not going to get drafted, right? Sri Lankans already have a hard time getting picked up in the IPL.
Yeah.
So if you say, okay, but the runner is not going to be available for the final or for the playoffs, they're going to look side eye at it. So it's a bit unfair. Whereas England, right, can say, okay, we're pulling all of our IPL players out to play Pakistan in England, right? And they won't face any repercussions. So there's a bit of unfairness. I
Yeah.
think Adil, you really nicely laid out who we've played, but I think one thing our players should remember is we have done well against good teams. If we think that this is a similar team to the Asia Cup, right? We've beaten Pakistan twice, we've beaten India, we've beaten India twice. Sorry, we've beaten New Zealand, right? And two of those games, I think in India, I don't know if you remember this, the first game of the series, Chamaka Karunaratne totally botched the last over. They had 8 to get from the last
Correct.
over. They should have
Yeah.
really won that series.
Yeah.
And there was another, the game against New Zealand was another close one. The last game, I think,
Yes.
Kusal Mendes had a big innings, but they just couldn't defend a big
Good
score.
defense, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I think we should take heart in the fact that we've actually performed well when we've done it.
Yeah.
And the last point I'll make is that we should also not underestimate the difference between some of these bad sides, right? We just saw what USA did to Pakistan. T20 cricket, the gaps is a lot smaller. There's a lot more that can happen. The variability is a lot more that can happen. So that game time, even against Afghanistan, even against Zimbabwe, is very useful for this side, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take another question from the comment section before coming for Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh. Let's ask Dominic to answer this. SJS asked, why do you think Sri Lanka has a lot of players that show great talent but unable to carry the form consistently and be very inconsistent? Another interesting question here.
Yeah. And if we had the answer to the perfect answer to this question, we could solve all of Sri Lanka's cricketing woes. But I think that the issue is domestic competition, right? So you see these talented players coming in 19, 20, 21, right? And they have to come into the international side if you want them to progress. If you want them to become top level players, they have to learn to play international cricket. So I've always viewed it as we see this great talent early, and then once international bowlers figure out what they're good at, they'll immediately cut them off. And so then they spend 3 or 4 years having to build up not only the skill set to deal with the way that international bowlers are dealing with them, but also the mindset, right? Because they're used to, right? We have to remember Sri Lanka's cricket system lauds these players from day one, right? When they're 13, 14, they're already seen as the next big thing, right? When they're 19, 20, they're making the international team. Oh, they're the next Sangakkara, they're the next Mahela. So there's so much pressure, and they don't have time, right, in Australia or England to go work on their game, develop their game away from that spotlight. You think about someone like Kusal Mendes, tremendously talented, but if he fails, everyone mocks him, right? Everyone says he's supposed to be the net, but it does. Even Sangha and Mahela, they took years to develop into polished white ball players. So I think it just takes time, and the lack of a system where they can really play against high quality competition all the time, right? If you're playing on these low, slow tracks with left arm spinners bowling at you all the time, can you really develop the skills to deal with pace in England or pace in South Africa? No. So I think we have to be patient with these players given the realities of the system. And I do think we've seen some players come along, someone like Pathum Nissanka and even Kusal Mendes have improved greatly, Charith Asalanka too. So we have to be patient, and we also have to wait for maybe it's wrong to say the next big thing, right? To expect every generation to have a Sangha or a Mahela or a Murali is just unfair. And maybe we just want 11 good players who can come together and do their role in the squad. And I think that's a much better mentality than you need to be the next person to carry Sri Lankan cricket on your back.
Absolutely. But I want to just ask one more question to that, like Dominic, like when we had back in 2015, like in the transition, we had Dinesh Chandimal, we had Lahiru Tirimane, those kind of players were, along with Matthews were like the next big three that we expected, to carry Sri Lanka cricket. But the issue that I felt was that the selectors never backed them, even if they had maybe 3 to 4 inconsistent series, they were dropped all of a sudden from ODIs and 2020s. They were really not given a chance, to express themselves. Whereas we saw in other nations, especially England also went through a transition phase after 2015 World Cup, and they backed the players until the 2019 World Cup. But we didn't see that from Sri Lanka, backing the players after 3 to 4 series when they were inconsistent. And we saw so many changes happen in the playing 11. I don't know how many players were, back in 2017, 18, I think about 50 or 60 players being, being taken into the squad. They either got replaced and they were never back. So your thoughts also on that, on the question that I asked on that as well, on the selectors not backing players?
Yeah. 2015 to 2019 really, was sort of the bottom point, the nadir for Sri Lankan cricket, right? Because they were chopping and changing. 2017, they had 7 different captains in ODIs or something like that. And not willing to back these players and say, okay, these are the next generation that we've identified, and we're going to give them every chance to succeed, right? And you could see the mental toll that someone like Lahiru Thirimana, obviously you look at his game, technically he's incredibly sound as a player. He was incredibly sound as a player. But once he started struggling, you could see the mental part of his game just wasn't clicked in. And so saying, having selectors who will say, you know what, these next 2 years, we're just going to back you. We know you have the talent. We just want you to come good no matter what, would be a huge relief for these players. And I think that has been big for the development of the likes of Pathum Nissanka or Charith Asalanka, where they've been able to play and learn on the job, right? And there's no place, as you said, as we were saying, there's no place for someone like a Lahiru Thirimana to go and hone his trade when he's not playing in the international side. There's no place for Dinesh Chandimal. Of course he can make runs in Sri Lanka. Of course he's going to look good in Sri Lanka. But will you keep on giving him those opportunities? So I think that's one of the big shifts post 2019 is there's been a more of a youth oriented policy sticking with the side. And even this T20 side is something that we have stuck with for the last few years. And the reason why we're competitive is because of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just adding a few things to what Dominic said, Pawan. So I think if you take Sri Lankan selection committees, selection policies, teams selected, captains appointed and everything from probably 2012 to 2019, I think that phase deserves a Netflix series of its own. So much drama.
Absolutely.
So much drama. Like
Absolutely.
musical chairs, day in and day out. Like news stories, conspiracies, you name it, we had it all. Right?
Absolutely.
So that period deserves a Netflix series of its
Yeah.
own. But
Yeah.
what I mean, I can give you a certain example as well if you have time. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
2018, if you remember the Sri Lanka versus England fifth ODI in Kettarama,
Yeah.
so that was like a perfect game where I felt like, okay, Sri Lanka are finally back. They kind of
2018-19, right?
2018-19.
19. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
19, yeah.
Chandika was the coach. Yeah.
Yes, Chandika Hatrusinga, right? Under Chandika Hatrusinga, Sadira and Dikwal opened. Kusal Dinesh Chandimal at number 3, Kusal Mendes at number 4. Tisarapera Dasun Shanaka finished. Angelo Matthews was in the setup, but he was, I think, injured or something. So we had a great core. Chamira was there, Kasun Rajita was firing. Spinners were good, Akila Dhananjay. Vanidu Hasaranga was young. So we finally figured out a good core of players, right? Under Chandika Hatrusinga. And suddenly the next tour we are touring New Zealand for a long series. The captain is changed. I mean, you see like the likes of Srikuki Prasanna, Lakshan, Sandakan coming into the I mean, Asela Gunaratne coming into the lineup. Asela Gunaratne used to be a great player. After his injury, he was off color. But and you see like wholesale changes. Selection committees changed. Asant Rimal appointed as the new selection chairman of selection committee. Sadir is dropped. Roshan Silva is dropped. I mean, yes, they were part of the test squad in New Zealand. They didn't get games, but for the next series they're dropped. Like players didn't get explanations. Like it was mayhem and it was chaos. So as I said, you can. I mean, that period deserves a Netflix series. So there was no consistency in anything whatsoever.
Yes.
Like you could never predict a Sri Lanka squad before a series because you never know. You can't. You don't even know who will be the selectors who are going to pick that squad. So that was such a period. I mean, yes, you had selection committees changing overnight. Like
Absolutely.
you would see a new name once.
So don't you think, Adil, it was like politics getting involved? Yes, like it was a transition period going on, but don't you think like politics should have stayed aside and just given to the selection committee or the cricket board to run this try to select these players and back them, because other nations were backing their players, but I mean, Sri Lanka cricket had no answer to that.
100%. So
As well as
other,
as well as to include that in 2018, when Adil Bhai said that Sri Lanka got a perfect match in the fifth ODI, but under this Chandika, they lost series against South Africa at home. They lost series against England at home. They knocked out from the Asia Cup from the first round. And this guy has raised question against Matthews, who was a senior cricketer. He has always problem with the senior cricketers.
Yeah.
That
so
deserves a Netflix series.
Exactly. So you have to give time. I mean, I don't know. This is my point of view. Chandika Singh was actually building a team.
Yes.
With some quality players. If they had persisted with it, because everything takes time, right? Nothing. I mean, this team wasn't assembled overnight. It started in 2021. Now we are at some point. Like I'm not saying this is still a finished product, but we've achieved something. We've won an Asia Cup. We've played a final of the Asia Cup. So we've beaten some good teams in tough games. So it takes time. Everything takes time. So what I respect about for this current selection committee is that yes, they overtook. They were brought in overnight, like after all, drama, but they didn't do a complete overhaul to the core of the squad, which is what I respect them. Yes, they brought in Angelo Matthews. That was, I think, part of the deal or something. I don't know. I don't like to comment. But yes, they brought in Angelo Matthews, but we didn't see like wholesale changes. Yes, they changed the captain, which was, I think, on the cards anyway. But they didn't change a lot of things. So I see something like selection committees persisting with certain policies. I would like to see this continuing. I mean, we don't know who will be the next selector after in a year or so, but I would like to see him continuing with the core. Yes, bring in a player or two, but do not shuffle the core. Shuffling the core was the biggest mistake we did during that 2015 to 19 period. You have to stick with the core.
Adil, I was going to say one last thing. You reminded me of the 2019 World Cup selection and where they got these players. Melinda Siri, they hadn't played for 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden, okay, yeah, you were back in the side, and yeah. But the
Thanks to
less
the
we talk about,
mastermind.
nothing better.
That's how chaotic. That's how
Yeah.
chaotic Sri Lanka cricket was during
Yeah.
that phase.
Absolutely. We'll just take one more question from the comment section before focusing on Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh. So we'll ask Dominic to answer this, and this is from Mark as well from the Murali end. So as we know, Dominic is part of the Murali end as well. So do follow their podcast and do subscribe to their YouTube channel, and and also follow their podcast because it's just one of the best going on with Sri Lanka cricket right now. Mark has asked, if you were playing and you got a wicket against Bangladesh, how would you celebrate? Good question. Yeah.
I think timeout is the go-to right now. But who knows? I think that's one of the things we're going to look forward to tonight, to see all the fireworks, all the celebration, and to see what's going on. What's I think is funny about the celebrations is I think the players actually get along quite well outside of the middle, but when they're in the middle, it's game time, and you love to see it. You love to see Sri Lankan players really seriously taking the game and doing everything they can to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
All right.
actually, we were, yeah, like, I feel like Sri Lanka and Bangladesh have a very good relationship. There is a misunderstanding that, become a rivalry or what. It all started from that Nidhas Trophy when that
Yeah.
Chandika betrayed us and left us all in a sudden. And our senior players had a problem with Chandika, not with Sri Lankan players. And Sri Lankan players and fans thought that we have problems with them. Like they just mistook it, like misunderstood that thing. But the fact is that this guy has come again in our country. He's like, creating problem among our senior players. He's creating problem among my icon player. I just don't understand this fact that when this guy will get lost from our country, I just don't understand. What does he want?
Very true. Yes. And let's come to
I
Sri
think
Lanka versus Bangladesh. Good point.
dealing like star players is, I think, a problem Chandika Singh has had everywhere he coached, right? Even in Sri Lanka, he had problems with Angelo Matthews.
Yeah, absolutely. But coming to the point, tomorrow, Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh happening tomorrow, obviously. Coming to Adil, first of all, we're having it in Dallas tomorrow. We know this. It was the same pitch where USA versus Pakistan happened. How do you assess the pitch? And it's going to be night conditions, obviously. And if you are a Hasaranga and if you win the toss, what would you do? And it should be the right call, obviously, this time. But assessing the pitch, can we see dew happening on this pitch tomorrow? Obviously, I'm not really sure whether it's going to be cold in Dallas or not. Apparently, Dominic said it's going to be very, very hot, but we never know what's going to happen over there in Dallas. But your thoughts, Adil, towards the pitch, assessing the pitch, and how it's going to behave for both the teams tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the decision at the toss, there is no choice. There shouldn't be a choice. Should be bowl first at all. I mean, because if you look at the three games which was played in Dallas, USA game, all three games were won by the chasing team. Plus, we are playing at night, and we saw that the Canadian bowlers struggle to bowl under lights with dew. But there is this short period during the beginning of the second innings where you'll have to play very carefully because the ball does a lot. Even the Canadian fast bowlers who are not that quick got some purchase. And if you're talking about Sri Lanka and Bangladesh fast bowlers, tomorrow in the tonight for USA. In the second innings, it's going to do a lot for the fast bowlers in the first few overs, be it Sri Lanka fast bowlers or even Bangladesh fast bowlers. Both teams have good fast bowlers. So conditions wise, I think, decision at the toss, whoever wins the toss should bowl first and try to be as disciplined as possible when you bowl. Try to restrict as to a lower score as possible, and try and chase. And talking about conditions, I remember in the Netherlands versus Nepal game there was some spin, but yesterday we didn't see a lot of spin. So I think this square in the square in Dallas, there are like the types of the pitches are a bit different to each other. So we don't know which pitch we'll get for the Sri Lanka Bangladesh game. So whatever pitch they get is likely to be a used pitch. So since it's a used pitch, we can expect some assistance for the spinners. Even if it doesn't turn, the wicket could be a bit slow. But still, I think the Pacers will have the usual assistance that they have with the conditions. Even though I mean, we've heard that it's going to be a bit hot. So I think both teams will play a mix of both fast bowlers and spinners. Interesting to see. Sri Lanka, I don't think will change a lot. I mean, let's talk about the combinations in the following in the
Yeah,
next part. But I
exactly.
think whoever wins the toss should bowl first and
Yeah,
pack your fast
Yeah,
bowlers up
yeah.
front.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Coming to Dominic, yeah. So you all already given us the playing 11s. You've gone with Kusal Mendes, Pathum Nisanga, Kamindu. You brought in Dhananjay for Sadira tomorrow. Charith Matthews, Dasun, Vanidu, Chamira. You brought in Chamira for I think Deekshana tomorrow, Tushar and Patirana. So you made two changes. You've gone with Dhananjay for Sadira and Chamira for Deekshana. Just want to ask, why have you gone with
Mm.
a part-time spinner tomorrow and you've gone with a extra pace and you dropped Teacher tomorrow? Just a follow up on your playing 11.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So Bangladesh have a left-hand heavy batting lineup. So having a traditional off spinner, I think, is a good decision. And I
Yeah,
think Dhananjaya de Silva in T20 cricket is a very, very good off spin bowler. He can bowl in the power play. He can bowl in those sort of 7 to 12 overs, and especially against Pakistan's left-hand heavy lineup, I think that he's a good choice. I also think that in terms of usually, almost always, my thought is you never want to drop Mahesh Deekshana. He's one of the top spin bowlers in the world, but Bangladesh play him quite well, and they know him quite well. They've played him many, many times. So for my mind, I think switching out DDS for Sadira is a good move, and I think pace bowling has been the most effective type of bowling in Dallas. So bringing in Chamira, and again, bearing in mind that it's a left-hand heavy lineup that struggles against out and out right arm pace.
yeah,
Having Chamira there is really, really important. And I think having Thushara and Chamira will give them a ton of options in the first 6 overs, and you can kind of combine them and DDS. So this is my in my ideal world, this would happen. I don't think they're going to bring in 3 out and out pacers, but that's the 11 I would do to face this Bangladesh lineup on this particular pitch.
very true. Mark has said, I love Bangladesh and all Bangla people. The rivalry is great for these two teams and for us fans. Yes, very interesting. Yes, very true as well on that. Even I agree on that. But coming to you,
Yeah,
Mahir.
thank you so much.
So talking about your team, you gone with Tanzid, Soumya Sakar, Liton Das, Shanto, Shakib Al Hassan, Mahmudullah, Rishad Hussain, Mahidi, Tanzid Shakib, Taskin and Fiz. Your thoughts, especially, you haven't gone with Tanvir Islam, or you haven't gone with you've gone with one spinner and 3 fast bowlers. Obviously, I'm not sure about the status of Taskin Ahmed, but thoughts on why you've gone for Taskin ahead of Shoriful Islam, because I'm seeing the
Soriful Islam
reports that.
actually got injured in his left hand in the practice
Oh
match
yeah,
against India.
yes,
He is
yes.
maybe ruled out from the World Cup.
Okay,
Oh.
but your thoughts on the combination that you have. So you back Litton Das. I think the other two, when I was discussing before the video started, didn't actually back Litton Das. But your thoughts on why you're backing Litton Das this much? Because Litton Das hasn't been that consistent. And you have a Jake Ali as a wicket keeping option in the middle order. If you want him to play, and you know how good he was in the Sri Lanka, in the Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka series back in Feb. So your thoughts on why you're backing Litton Das so much? Yeah. Yes, Mahir.
Yeah,
I just asked on why
yeah.
you're.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So my thing is regarding Nitandas, you have asked, right?
Yeah. Written us. Yes.
First and foremost, Litandas's problem is the same thing Sri Lankan fans are having problem with Kusal Mendes. He is like the Kusal Mendes of our country. So no matter what happens, he's in the team.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. I think we lost his connection. Yeah. You can continue. Yes, Mahir. Can you hear us? Yeah. Yeah, so apparently, yes, this is the playing 11 that Mahir has gone for. But coming to Adil once again, who do you think is the key player that Sri Lanka should watch out for actually in this Bangladesh playing 11? Because it's going to be interesting, because several players do have good stats, and we know what happened in the ODI World Cup as well. But I don't want to, go that much into ODI because it's different formats and also I didn't want to talk much about the ODI World Cup that happened and we lost. But your thoughts, especially on the key players that Sri Lanka should watch out for from the Bangladesh squad.
Yeah. So if we look at, I mean, let's talk about Bangladesh squad first of all and see who are the players that we should keep an eye on. So Bangladesh are coming after a 2-1 series loss against USA.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the lowest points in their cricketing history, losing a series for against a associate nation,
yeah,
and we did see them kind of thrash USA in the third game with Mustafiz Rahman bowling a great spell.
yeah,
So they are a team who lacks confidence at the moment. So they would be eyeing for their big players, Shakib, Mahmudullah, Mustafiz Rahman, and of course the captain Shanto to step up in this game. And if Litton plays, he'll be another player that they'll be looking to. I mean, they'll be keeping an eye on, and they'll want to step up. So, and then historically, Bangladesh is a team who mostly rides on big players. Whenever a big player performs, the team just they rally around that player, and they punch above their weight. If you remember the 2019 World Cup, Shakib had a stellar tournament. Like he scored everywhere in every game he played, and
yeah,
they did well.
yeah,
2017 they made the semifinals of the Champions Trophy. Mahmudullah had a great tournament. Mushfiqur Rahim had a great tournament. So whenever their big players do well, they
yeah,
they tend to upset good teams.
Mm.
They tend to do well. So for sure, it will be Shakib, Mahmudullah, and Mustafiz to watch out to. More than Mahmudullah, I would say Shakib and Mustafiz because Fiz leads their bowling attack. Shakib, of course, their star player, the greatest player of their cricketing history. And
mm,
I think we'll have to keep a look eye on Hridoy because
yeah,
he seems to be the next Mushfiqur who loves batting against Sri Lanka. He
Yeah.
always seems to find a way to score against Sri Lanka. So I
Mm.
think we'll have to keep an eye on Hridoy as well. The top order, I don't see them that much of a threat for Sri Lanka, given that we start that given our bowling attack. But we'll have to make sure Shakib and Fiz are not
Mm.
amongst the runs or wickets, and
mm,
we take Hridoy's wicket as soon as he
Mm.
comes.
yeah. Damik, your thoughts also, your intake also on like the key
Yeah,
players that
I was
Sri
going to
Lanka.
say Ridoy. For me, he's their best batter right now. Really aggressive, really talented, and he's going from strength to strength. Two other players I'll mention: Rashad Hussain, who had an excellent series against Sri Lanka. He's a bit of a Bangladesh version of Hasaranga. Can score
Yeah.
very, very quickly with the bat, leg spinner. I'm more worried about his batting than his bowling, but he has taken some wickets against us. He really provides some firepower down the order. The other player, and I don't know if he's going to play, it depends on if he's fit, is Taskin Ahmed. He seems to always bowl very, very well against us. Tight line. He's gets that ball to swing early. So as Adil was saying, whoever bowls first or second, you're going to get some swing the early overs. And I just think he's a fantastic bowler. If he's injured, that'll be big for Sri Lanka because it'll provide some, they've struggled a little bit against Taskin.
Yeah, sure. Coming to Adil once again, so you're playing 11. You've gone with Kusal Mendes, Pathum, Kamindu, Dhananjay, Charit. So I think you've gone with Tikshana instead of Tushara. So you've gone with extra spinner instead of fast bowler. Your thoughts on that? On why you decided to go for that?
So it's the same combination from last game, Pawan. There
Yeah,
is no change in the combination, but
yeah,
I bring in Chamira and Dhananjay Silva instead of Tushar and Sadira.
yeah,
Dhananjay solely for his bowling. I would say it's a bit harsh on Sadira to drop him after just one game, but Dhananjay's bowling
Hmm.
will do a world of good for us if he bowls well against the Bangladesh left-hander. So Dhananjay should come in instead of Sadira, and I'll bring Chamira instead of Tushar just for the fact that I mean, yes, I wouldn't mind Tushar playing tomorrow, but after going through Dominic's stats on Twitter, like after seeing that Bangladesh are clearly struggling against right arm fast bowlers, I
yeah,
think Chamira would be would impose a bigger threat than Tushar for against the Bangladeshi batters. But playing Tushar will also be fine because remember the last game Sri Lanka played
Yeah.
against Bangladesh, Tushar just bamboozled them. So that would be fresh on the Bangladeshi batters' minds as well. And I remember after that game, or I don't remember for a game against Sri Lanka, they even had found a local Bangladeshi fast bowler who bowls with a side arm, and they had tried to replicate that facing Tushar or Matisha Patirana. So they
Yeah.
are really concerned about facing slingers. Yes, of course we'll have Patirana in the 11, but extra 4 overs of a slinger would cause the headache bigger if they are not prepared well.
Yeah.
So it's a tussle between Tushar and Chamira for me. Dilshan Madhushanka, obviously, man, deserves to be playing in the playing 11 for his
Yeah.
quality. But
Yeah.
given the fact that Bangladesh is left-hander heavy batting
Mm.
order, I would say Dilshan can wait for another game until he gets a go in this World Cup.
Absolutely. Taking a comment, Mr. said you guys gave good insights on who to watch out for and etc. than the sporty LK episode I just watched before this. Yeah, thank you so much, and do refer this to your friends and everyone. SJ, yeah, do subscribe to the Sports Breakdown for more content like this. Yeah. And yeah, thanks to Dominic and Adil, obviously, and to Mahir also for analyzing this match and this rivalry very well as well. T has also said same rivalry brings in the viewers and is more fun. Yes, absolutely agree on that. Just want to take a comment on SJ here and let's ask Dominic to answer this. Kusal Mendis around the same age and has debuted in the same year as Baba Azam, Bumrah, KL Rahul, and almost 30 years old. Do you think he has lived up to the hype, or is he a bit overrated or underrated? Good question here. Very interesting question over
Yeah.
here.
So I'll take this in two parts. Has he lived up to the hype? No, because we hyped him up to be the next Mahela Arasanga, right? He hasn't lived up to that hype. But I actually think at this point in his career, he's a bit underrated. I think in 2018 and 2019, the mockery of Kusal Mendes made everyone think that he's just a trash player and that there's no reason for him to be in the team. But especially in the T20 format, he's proved that he is very worthwhile having in the team. So he's played, I think, 44 matches as an opener. He's hit 14 50s in those matches. He's won man of the match 6 times, only 3 ducks. He's averaging over 30 with a strike rate over 150, or at least it was before the South Africa game. And those are top stats in the world. To have a batter who strikes both at over 150 and averages over 30 as an opener is extraordinarily rare. I think it's only Josh Butler who does that. So I think he's come good in T20 cricket. In terms of players to watch out for tonight, Kusal Mendes loves batting against Bangladesh. So look for him to have a big match. I think that'll hopefully get Sri Lanka going, and he knows their bowling quite well.
Yep. Adil, your thoughts also on this? Just a bit on Kusal
Kusal
Mendes?
Mendes. Yeah, I think let's keep T20 aside. I think he has proven everyone that how good a T20 player he is, and he's easily the best T20 batter in Sri Lanka at the moment. But ODIs and tests, of course, like every Sri Lankan fan, I have my own concerns as well. And let's just put this fact out. In the current generation, he's by far the best. I mean, in terms of skills, the batter produced to play for Sri Lanka. In terms of just purely skills, right? So skills alone don't win you games. It's clearly evident in the case of Kusal Mendes. So yes, he has to be more consistent in all 3 formats. I personally am not a fan of him playing Test cricket anymore because I just want him to open in both ODIs and T20s and go bang bang, just play his natural game. That's something I personally like to see, but that's clearly not how the selectors want him to go about with his career. So they want him to be an all format player, which is completely fine. And of course, he has the potential, but he has to be consistent, and he has to just play the situations more or less. I mean, he's got all the shots in the book. He has great timing. He picks the length of the ball very early. Like he has that gifted talent as well. Man, he just needs to back his talent. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say.
No, Adil, I'll say, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you watch him sometimes and you think, how can you possibly stop him when he gets going? But I think the way I think of it is he's not yet a great player. He plays great matches. He wins matches for you, but he's not yet a great player. And that's the kind of next
Yeah.
step that we want to see is going from, okay, every few matches he's going to play an innings that wins Sri Lanka a match to can you do that every inning or every other innings, right? So that's the step we want to see. And I think statistically, Sri Lankan batters have prospered after they turn 30. And
Yeah.
so hopefully we see that from him.
Absolutely.
Probably.
All right, guys. So let's come to the predictions time. Before we'll take one or two more comments after once we get to the predictions, and then in the live over here. So highest run scorer, highest wicket taker. I won't ask the winner, so because we are all biased over here. We know who's going to win tomorrow. But highest run scorer, highest wicket taker, and man of the match. Let's start with Adil, and then Dominic, and then I'll obviously wrap that up also. So Adil, starting with you.
Yeah, so I'll give highest run scorer from Sri Lanka and highest run scorer from Bangladesh. So
All
I'll
right,
just
yeah,
go with
right.
historic records. Sri Lanka, it's going to be Kusal Mendis, and Bangladesh, it's going to be Tawhid Hridoy. And bowling, I would back Matisha Patirana, take the most number of wickets for Sri Lanka. And for
All right.
Bangladesh, it would be Fizz. Oh, I don't like him to take wickets against Sri Lanka because that would be a huge headache for us. But since you want me to predict, I would say Fizz.
Yeah. Dominic, what about you?
I agree with the highest run scorers, Kusal Mendes and Tawhid Hridoy. I'm going to go with a different wicket taker. I'm going to go Wanindu Hasaranga for us. I think he'll. I think the bowlers will bowl well tonight, and that he'll have a lot of opportunities in the middle overs to take wickets. And for Bangladesh, again, I'll go with the Fizz because even late in it, he picks up those late innings wickets as well. My man of the match is going to be Kusal Mendes.
All right.
Oh,
So I'm
I
going to go
didn't say my man of
differently
the
over
match.
here. Yes. Yeah, Adil. Yeah, sorry. Continue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man of the match, man of the match. So I'll say Matisha Patirana because I want to win with the ball. If we
Okay.
are winning, we have to win with the ball.
All right. For me, I'm going to go a different take. I'm not going to go with stats. So for me, I agree with both of you with the Bangladesh highest run scorer, but I'm going to back Pathum Nissanka tomorrow because he's not been back that much. From Sri Lanka, is very underrated in my opinion. With what happened with him, so I'm going to back Pathum Nissanka as the highest run scorer tomorrow. And when it comes to wicket takers, I'm gonna have Tushar in my team, so I'm gonna back Nuwan Tushar too, obviously with the highest wicket taker. Seeing how he performed against Bangladesh in that 2020 series in Bangladesh, so I'm gonna back Nuwan Tushar. And for Bangladesh, yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go with Mustafizur as well. And man of the match, I feel it's gonna be Pathum Nissanka. I feel like Sri Lanka gonna put a good score tomorrow if they bat first. But if they field first, if they're gonna bowl first, then maybe it's gonna be a Tushara. Going to be man of the match. So it depends on who wins the toss and what's going to happen. But going to back over there. But let's take a few comments before we wrap things up over here. Scorpio said even though Kusan Mendy's overall average is 30 plus and a good strike rate, but if you see his stats versus Australia, England, India, New Zealand, South Africa, Pakistan, his average is 19.34 and strike rate is 119. Just pointing it out. Your thoughts, Dominic? I mean, this is good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
because I've looked into this because this is frequently the comment that I get back when I say Kusal Mendes is our best batter. So the teams he's played most recently, right? So India and New Zealand, as Adil said, which is the series we played most recently. I think he averages 40 against India with a strike rate of about 160, and he averages about 30 with a strike rate of 170 against New Zealand. So that's quite good. Pakistan, he does not have a good average because he got those 2 ducks in the Asia Cup. England, we haven't played since the 2022 World Cup, so hardly any evidence there. And South Africa was just the match right now. So I think it's contextual. The teams that he's played, he's scored against, and I think scoring runs against India is something that's well worth noting. Again, the 2022 Asia Cup, he played a brilliant innings to get us over the lines there, and he was really good against New Zealand's Pacers. I think, again, in terms of having all the shots, he's one of our best players against pace. And we'll see. Hopefully he'll bring that against Bangladesh and the rest of this World Cup.
Yeah. Just a quick update on the match, by the way. Canada versus Ireland. Canada 58 for 4 after 9.1 overs right now. Coming to the comments once again, Mark says Angelo getting a hat trick in the first over. Bold statement over there. Bold statements over there. Just want to take a few comments over here. Hasnain here says, hey, this is Mohammad Hasnain from Pakistan. Sri Lanka lost against South Africa. Pakistan lost against USA. Which loss had a bigger impact? Adil, coming to you, answering
Easy.
this
I
question.
think that's the Pakistan's loss. Pakistan's loss against USA has a bigger impact
Yeah.
because now they have to beat India to stay in the stay in contention. Because imagine USA beats Ireland. USA have already beaten Canada. Even if they lose against India, they'll have 3 wins out of 4 games. And if Pakistan ends up losing to India, and even if they beat Ireland and Canada, it will be only 2 wins for them. So which will eliminate Pakistan and help USA qualify. So I think the USA game has a big impact. For Sri Lanka, we still have 3 games left, and if we manage to win all 3 of them, we still have a chance. But for Pakistan, even if they, I mean, they'll have to beat India. Unless if they don't beat India, it's going to be really tough for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll add here. I think
Yeah. Sure.
Sri Lanka is lucky to have played South Africa on that pitch, because God forbid they played Nepal or Netherlands and
Yeah.
lost that match on a really bad pitch. It would be very, very difficult. But they've got to. I think Adil said this perfectly. You just wipe that away and you say, okay, we're
Yeah.
starting afresh, and we're going to win these 3 games and get to the Super 8.
Yeah. One last question before we wrap things up from the comment section. They say, why does Mushfiqur Hidroy play well, especially against Sri Lanka? Dominic, you can answer if you can answer that.
So
Yeah.
Fridoy has played LPL, so I think that's been big for him. Is he's gotten the chance to see and sight the Sri Lankan bowlers
Yeah.
from his young days, so he's very used to it. And then we played a bunch of series with them, so Fridoy has gotten a measure of what we do. The Fizz, he's a quality bowler. We saw that in the IPL this year. He's got a bag of tricks. He has all sorts of deliveries to bowl. I'm curious how his bowling will go in Dallas, though, because it is a more traditional seam friendly or sort of pace friendly wicket, and
Yeah.
not one where you sort of take the pace off.
Face off.
So
Correct.
yeah. So we'll see how he goes. But I think it just comes to quality, and I think he matches up well against our bowlers, our batters at the death in particular, because that's where he's tended to take wickets towards the back end of the innings.
Yeah. Adil, any points to add up on that?
Yeah, I think the final point made by Dominic is a great point to think, because Fizz, his biggest weapon is his cutters, and he's really unpredictable with his cutters. Like, he mixes up his delivery so well, he varies them so well. So if you think about the Dallas wicket and the 3 games that were played, we didn't see anyone reaping much from using cutters. So that just eliminates the advantage he has with his cutters, and that will definitely push him to bowl more seam up deliveries and maybe try to swing the ball. So that could increase the clarity on Sri Lankan batters. Okay, he's not going to bowl the cutter. Just look out for the seam up delivery. So that could be an advantage. Just thinking as a fan, I don't know. You never know. I think Fizz bowls the best cutters at the moment in world cricket. So you never know. He still could find a way to execute his cutters on this wicket. So let's wait and see.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Adil and Dominic, joining us. So do follow Adil Siddiq on Twitter. Especially on X. He brings up the best content on Sri Lanka cricket, and he gives all the latest updates on X. So do follow him if possible on X. He's really, really a useful guy. When it comes to all the information, the latest information on Sri Lanka cricket. And do also follow up on Dominic Machado also on X as well, and he brings up interesting stats and content and all. And he's part of the Murali N team also, which you have to follow the Murali N podcast as well. They're one of the best going on when it comes to Sri Lanka cricket, and I do follow their podcast on Apple and on it's all on all platforms, and even they have a YouTube channel as well. So
And
do check that out.
shout out to their most recent logo update. So they've shifted from green to blue. They've become proper
Yeah.
Sri Lankan. That's a cool upgrade now.
That's a cool upgrade as well. Yes. So do follow
I saw
their
the updated logo.
Yeah.
yeah. do follow their content as well. So thank you so much, both of you, once again for taking your time, and also to Mahir. Also, he had a few internet issues, which is why he couldn't, make it until to the end. So we respect his comments as well, and as a Bangla fan point of view, also him bringing up his thoughts. So thank you so much once again, Dominic, Adil, and Mahir as well, for taking your time, and coming for this, because it's a very interesting topic that we spoke on. Analyzing on the Sri Lanka versus South Africa match, and then doing a preview on tomorrow's match, and hope Sri Lanka wins tomorrow. Although there are some Bangladesh fans also watching this, but let's hope that Sri Lanka somehow manage to win this and come back after that loss against South Africa. So all the best to Sri Lanka once again tomorrow, and let's see what happens in 8 to 9 hours time. But once again, thank you so much for both of you for joining my channel and trying to do this.
Thanks for having
Thank
us,
you.
Pawan. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So do subscribe to the Sports Breakdown, like, comment, and share on this video. And we'll come back probably, hopefully, for the post-match analysis of Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh before Sri Lanka faces Nepal on the 13th April. 13th June. So let's hope we can do a post-match analysis before that. So until then, guys, thank you so much, and have a good night or good morning wherever you are. So thank you so much, guys, once again. See you guys in the next video.